Hey everyone, it's day 2 here for Soul Studies. This is our time reserved for 7th grade, but really, if you're in 8th grade or 6th grade, parents and students both welcome here. Happy to help out with any of the questions you have over the Blizzard bag material. We had a couple questions from yesterday, so I have that pulled up on my computer as well. So if you have questions, please just go ahead and type it in the live chat, and we'll help you out any way we can. So, yeah, day 2 of this. So still trying to get used to all the ins and out of kind of teaching remotely or helping out remotely. The boys are still napping right now, so that's a good sign. Wife is off, so she can help out a little bit if they do wake up during this time. But just a couple things to kind of get us started. If you forgot or haven't heard yet, I did post some links and some videos and some other kind of helpful stuff for the packets on Google Classroom. Hopefully, you should be able to access. We've had other students post or leave comments on there and say that they can't access it, so that's always good. But those sites are really a little bit extra in case the material or the reading that you have is not making any sense, and the links will take you to sites that the students, that we've used a lot throughout the year and that are kind of broken down at their level, and some videos, try to keep them short, but they go into detail about each of the 3 branches because that's the focus of your work that you have over this extended break is kind of the origins of our government, then going into detail about each different branch of government. So the legislative branch, executive, and the judicial, and this whole idea of the balance of power or checks and balances. So I found some videos that I think would help you guys out. And like I said, the links will help you out as well. What I also posted on Quizlet, and hopefully you can access Quizlet with your student account on, if you're at home using your home Wi-Fi and stuff, or if you're on your phone using the data on your phone. There's a new vocab set. It should be U.S. government. Normally it is normally it's a 8th grade set, but I signed up to each class. So if you need it, it's there. Again, that's to help out in case the reading or the material that you have in the Blizzard bags is not working. But yeah, so if you get questions, let me know. I'll do what I can to help you guys out. I said, for the most part, I think this should be pretty straightforward. And if you haven't taken a look at the social studies work yet, it is taken from the workbooks, from like the red textbooks and stuff. So it's nothing that should be totally new or foreign to you guys. And really what we're looking at having you guys answer is kind of those like obvious worksheets. And that first one starts on page 209 at the bottom. So a lot of this you can just get from the reading. It's kind of in the text there for you, but some of the wording may be a little bit difficult, which I understand. So just try your best with it. Like I said, we had a couple questions asked yesterday, and I think that student got the help that she needed. So we are doing what we can. And if you have taken a look at some of the work, remember, just answer the best you can, especially on questions that ask you to work with the class or work with a partner. You might have to take the role of both yourself and the partner. And again, just do what you can to answer the question completely. I know some of the stuff asked you is like, okay, have a class debate over, what you looked at or what are some positives and benefits, blah, 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 things like that. So just do what you can to answer it. So like I mentioned yesterday, this kind of picks up very nicely what 8th grade was doing. Unfortunately for 7th and 6th grade, this is all kind of new stuff and stuff we would get into once you get into 8th grade, but it's good to have a foundation or the background for it so you can kind of see how the government is set up, how it works. Especially with everything going on, it might make some sense of how things are running and how things are operated right now during a national crisis like this. So you can see the stuff being done on the national government level and at a state level. So that's really interesting to see. But, I hope everybody is not going insane, not going crazy, or finding something to do, or finding something to watch, maybe a good show or a good movie, or playing a good game. See if there's any games on sale. There's one on sale that I want to get, but we'll see. See if we can afford that. 'Cause it's still kind of pricey, but not the normal $60 or whatever for a video game. Yeah, I don't know if we have anybody in the chat just yet, but if you do got questions, leave them in there. If you can't make it to the live chat, there is the student and family Google Hangouts that we have, and also Google Classroom. Remember, you should be able to access that at home. Just sign in with your school account, and leave a comment if something is. If you got a question about other things, I may try to post some other kind of links or videos, both about the work and about kind of the stuff that's going on, to hope enlighten and educate some people about why are we being asked to kind of stay in the house and not go out in public or be in large groups, because even though this COVID-19, this does not seem to affect the younger populations nearly as much or as deadly as it does for the elderly or folks that have pre-existing conditions. The young still need to do their part and stay home and not go out and just kind of ignore it and think this doesn't affect them, or that they can't be a carrier of this virus and unknowingly infect those that are elderly and have underlying health issues. So I'll try to post some stuff like that. And trying to get everything finished in terms of grades. Got 3 little crazy boys to watch over this break. So our oldest is home from school, obviously. So this was going to preschool for about the last 3 weeks, maybe close to a month. So it's kind of unfortunate that we had to stop sending him in, because I know he really likes it. All right. So yeah, if you got questions, guys, please go ahead and ask. I'm here through about 2 o'clock if you guys need me. Hello, Carmelo. How are you doing, bud? Not driving your mom crazy, I hope. I've been playing a lot of Fortnite, Carmelo. I should hear your music. I don't know if I want to. I'm just wearing headphones, so if I do hear any of the boys start waking up, hopefully you guys won't be able to hear it, but we'll see. We had quite a few people in that chat yesterday, but they must be busy or just kind of have had their fill of me and don't want to hear my annoying voice anymore, which I understand. Let's see, who all else went today? I think I saw Mr. Sirianni went earlier, playing basketball and football. Well, hopefully we're not playing with too many people. It's good to stay active and stay busy. It looks like we had a pretty busy morning and afternoon so far. Looks like Mr. Sirianni went live earlier, and Mr. Murray had some videos as well. So it's definitely weird. I feel like I should be streaming a game for you guys. Probably you're on a football team now. Nice. Oh, spring practice probably going to be starting here soon. Anybody else from the school on the football team, or any other kids that you know? Yeah, so if you guys aren't aware, um, we were asked to submit grades by, the end of the day. That way Miss Housel can get them. Okay. You look like you're are gaming, Mr. Oh, thank you, Mr. Nelson. No, I'm upstairs in my room. No TV, no console up here. It's just downstairs. Could bring my Switch up, I guess. But then I'd need to get a whole setup. But yeah, just kind of finished putting the last assignments from the last couple weeks into the gradebook. I'm gonna go through the gradebook to see if there's anything I need to change and need to add or need to take away. Um, yeah, for the most part, I think grades are going to be looking pretty good for this third 9 weeks, and I really don't know what to do about the fourth 9 weeks. As if I had to guess, I'm leaning on that we will not be coming back to school. That's just me, but we'll kind of see how this coronavirus thing affects regular life. Okay. Carmelo, have you looked at the work at all? And it's fine if you haven't. I get it. It's only Thursday. You guys still got like 2.5 weeks. Hmm. So we're a little over 10 minutes in. So if you are just joining us and it doesn't look like a whole lot are, that's fine. Not too insulted. Um, just joking, obviously. But yeah, if you haven't yet, definitely try to take a look at the social studies work. Again, it's not difficult at all. I don't think nothing is there to try to trick you or pull one over on you. Just make sure you do the reading that from the pages before the handouts. And if you got questions, please ask either here in the chat or Google Hangouts. So that link for Google Hangouts, I think, was sent home to the families that did pick up the Blizzard bag. So I know I've seen a couple parents in there, seen some students in there as well, and the staff, obviously. So we are here to help you. If you're at all confused in terms of the work about what ones you're being asked to do, the little check your understanding, those 4 questions. Normally, that's like the purple box in our textbooks. We kind of answer those as a class normally. You don't really need to answer those. I don't think that's just something you could kind of ask yourself to make sure you understand what the reading is about, what we're looking for, what we're having you guys answer and complete are the workbook pages. They'll have like section A, section B, C, D, and E normally, and sometimes they'll even probably go up to like F or G. And I just think it varies between each assignment, so that's not one kind of set limit. It varies. And then if some of them ask you, like the extension activities are asking you to have a debate, like this one I'm looking at on page 216. One of the last steps is, all right, hold a class vote on each of the bills. Well, that's obviously something we can't do because we're not in class. You don't have other students to vote, but you can still complete, the first couple steps at least. So we're saying, imagine that you and a partner, a member of Congress at your school, discuss some policies you'd like to change or problems you would like to fix at your school. And, these are things that we've kind of had you guys provide your input on before. So write your changes on the lines below, come to an agreement with each other about what you would like to do, and then write down your new bill on a separate piece of paper. So yeah, that's having you work with a partner, but you obviously don't have a partner to work with. So just do what, the part as much as you can on your own. And make it list like 1, 2, or 3 changes or things you'd like to see done at the school. And you might get some new ideas, especially since with all this happening, say, oh, maybe we should, start cleaning the school more regularly to help prevent any kind of spread of something just like the common cold or any other kind of pandemic like we're currently going through right now. Step two, back to the handout here. Step two is asking you to exchange your bill with another parent in your class. Obviously, can't do that, but just do what you can. Again, I know kind of what you're being asked to do may seem like a bit much given all this work from all your classes. Say, hey, get this done over 3 weeks. And then you guys are really on your own, or your parents, guardians, grandma, grandpa, whoever you live with, is there to help, unless they're working or they're trying to get other stuff done. So I know it can be difficult. So that's why we're here. Give them a little break and to make sure you guys are still getting what you need. So yeah, if you need to, just ask questions, ask for help. It's all right. Like I said, we had a student ask 2 questions because something just wasn't clicking or something wasn't making a whole lot of sense. That student was just confused over the wording of something. So I tried just kind of going over because for 7th and 6th grade, this is new stuff. For you guys, I know we really changed gears from what we were doing before 7th grade. We just got into the Middle Ages. And it seems like we were pretty interested in having a decent time with that. In 6th grade, we were looking at the Indus Valley Civilization. And now we're looking at the United States government, the origins and stuff, and how it's set up. So even though this is not technically what 6th and 7th grade has to learn about, it is still important. And again, it will provide a nice foundation or background for you guys for when you do see this either next year or in a couple years. So yeah, I don't think it's overly difficult if you just do the reading. Take your time on it, and maybe try to knock out a couple worksheets every day or every couple days. One day focus on science, one day focus on language arts, math, social studies, kind of split it up however you think you would need to. Hmm. So we're almost at 20 minutes. It's kind of surprising how quickly this time goes when you're just talking to a computer. Well, hopefully we'll get maybe a few more participants in the next few minutes. Looks like we just have myself here. That's fine. Again, not too insulted. Joking, obviously. And here in another minute or so, I'll probably just, for those that are maybe joining us a little bit later that will come in the next few minutes, I'll do some of the reading from some of the pages on here to maybe help out because I know some of us prefer to kind of hear it out loud rather than read it ourselves. And that might help those families that are busy or trying to look after little ones or just make sure things don't get unruly in our home. It says 2 days in a row. I should have ate something before I came on. starting to get hungry. Maybe tomorrow I will learn my lesson. All right. So I said I'll just start some of the reading from the handouts that were given to you guys. I'll start on the first one. Let me pull it up here. So it's looking at the origins and structure of our government. Again, this is coming directly from our red textbook. Um, the thing that this textbook is good at is kind of hitting the big points or the main ideas. I just wish it would go a little bit more in depth. So, but anyway, we'll get started. Something that it's asking you to kind of keep in the back of your mind or kind of be the big essential or what they call the focus question is what ideas about government influenced the founders of the United States? So these people that we hear about in eighth grade kind of knows this. People like James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, George Washington, and others. Where did they come up with ideas for government? Because the government that they're used to or that they have lived under is very different from the one that they came up with after the whole Revolutionary War thing. But some of the vocab here that we have, about 7 terms that they provide for us, and they do a nice job to give us visuals. Number one being a republic, and we kind of see that, or everybody has seen that so far. In 6th grade, we'll see it with ancient Rome. So the Romans did for a little while, have a republican form of government. They also have citizens. Again, those are the members of a country, state, or city. The Magna Carta, which was a English document from the 13th century, where the King of England signed into law, granted certain rights to the people of England. It's kind of one of the first times in Western history where this kind of happened. And we got some Enlightenment thinkers, 4 and 5, with Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who is Swiss, I believe, and John Locke. Okay? Those two guys are Enlightenment thinkers, and they helped give some ideas to people like Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, when we were kind of trying to come up with our form of government. Where 6 is the United States Constitution. Okay. That's what we were going to get into after looking at the Constitutional Convention, and then the separation of powers, this big idea that is kind of the focus or the purpose of a government. So it has some of the vocab terms there. On the first page, government is separate from the other, but has a special function. So what I'm going to do now, and this is before in class over the last year or so, is kind of read this vocabulary and context, a short reading section. So America's founders were influenced by the ideas of people who lived in earlier times in history. The ancient Romans, the writers of the Magna Carta, and the Enlightenment thinkers provided important ideas for America's founders. These ideas were a foundation for the United States Constitution. That's number 6. You see that right beside the text box here. The idea of a republic came from the ancient Romans. In this form of government, citizens vote for their representatives. The idea of basic rights came from documents such as the Magna Carta. It guaranteed some basic rights to the people of England. See, this is where it's just kind of hitting the main points. I would like for it to go a little bit more in detail, but America's founders read the ideas of European Enlightenment thinkers such as John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Locke wrote that people have the right to life, liberty, and personal property, and Rousseau believed people have the right to choose how they are governed. The United States government is based on the separation of powers. Each part of the government is separate and has a special function. So that was page 215, just that reading on the side there. So where it says check your understanding, those are questions we would just ask the class as a whole if we did this in a small group or maybe as a whole class setting. These aren't ones you necessarily need to answer, but if you want to answer them just below, you can. Again, everything is in the text that was just read above. But now we're going to go into just a little bit more of the detail. Again, I'd still like for it to go a little further in depth, but we're on page 216 now. Okay, this is from the textbook. I'm going to start at the top, the foundations of government. So when the American colonists declared their independence from Great Britain, they had to create a new government. Many American leaders had read the works of Enlightenment thinkers. They agreed that everyone was born with certain rights that could not be taken away by the government. The Declaration of Independence states this idea. America's founders agreed that the citizens would have basic rights and all people would have to follow the law. Okay, so what this is talking about really is, okay, where does the United States, where the people like Washington, Franklin, Jefferson, and Madison kind of get their ideas from? This paints a very nice, pretty picture, but it's not all smooth sailing at that point for the United States in the history. And the war lasted a very long time. It's not like, okay, we declared our independence from Great Britain, and they said, okay, yeah, fine, go ahead, start a new country. No, we've already were fighting the British for well over a year at the time that we signed the Declaration of Independence. War had already started. And when we do sign the Declaration of Independence, that's literally treason what the signers of that document were committing. If the British wanted to, they could have captured everybody who put their signature and signed the document and had them executed, had them hung, because they were officially trying to break away from the British Empire. And the British didn't want that to happen. So that's why we fought a war over this, is because this lack of representation, the colonists from the American colonies felt that they weren't being given representation in the government, and that they should have a say in the law. So that was the big kind of sticking point. Eighth grade heard me say that phrase a lot. It's this idea of not having representation in terms of the laws that are being forced on you. So after the war, what becomes the United States does win with the help of some European allies, mostly the French, who don't like the British at all. So they were kind of willing and to help us defeat the British. And they would have another go at them, even though the French and British seem to be fighting for like hundreds of years, back and forth prior to that. And this idea of how the government comes into existence, it's, okay, we win, now we have this beautiful working government. Again, no, that's not necessarily how it happened. We spent the last week and a half, 2 weeks in eighth grade looking at the government that was in place during the war and after the war, before the Constitution. And that was the Articles of Confederation, and it didn't work. It didn't help out. There wasn't one kind of unified country. All these new independent states act as their own kind of country, and that made things like trade, travel, money very difficult. And eighth grade spent a lot of time looking at the weaknesses under this government that was from the Articles of Confederation. All right, so what the founding fathers then realized is that, okay, we got to fix this broken government because it's not working. We have examples of people trying to rebel or fight back. Most famously was Shays' Rebellion, a soldier who fought in the war and then tried to go back to his farm and just live a normal life, but then was being asked to pay his taxes. But he was still waiting to get paid for his service in the war. So how can he pay taxes when he doesn't have any money? So it was this big conflict. And, to try to stop more examples of rebellion happening or more examples of uprising from starting, people begin to realize, we need to fix the Articles of Confederation. And that's where the United States Constitution kind of comes in. It's our second attempt. It's our do-over at a government. So what I'm going to do now is read this middle section, the United States Constitution. Okay, still on page 216 here. So the Constitution is the highest law in the nation. It explains how the national government works. Okay, when we say national government, that's where we mean things like Congress, the President, and the Supreme Court. Okay. The national government has certain expressed powers. Okay, these powers include collecting taxes from citizens, printing money, and declaring war. Okay, reserved powers are controlled by the states. Okay, so currently we have 50 states. It wasn't always the case. After the war, it was 13 states, and then slowly over time we start adding more and more states. Ohio doesn't become a state until 1803, so that's a good bit after the American Revolution. So that's why this difference between expressed powers and reserved powers. That's why you see Ohio doing certain things in terms of this pandemic, and you see other states maybe doing something very similar, or some states doing something a little bit differently, because each state has their own kind of authority, has their own ability to do certain things and for what they think is the betterment or for the safety of their citizens. Okay, I'm about to start the third paragraph here of that section, the United States Constitution. So the Constitution can be changed through amendments. Amendments are changes that are made to the Constitution. Again, so amendment is a fancy word for change. The first 10 amendments are called the Bill of Rights. And this is all stuff 8th grade would have gotten into, and hopefully 7th and 6th grade, when you guys are at that point, we will get into. But Bill of Rights and other things like that, amendments, and some of the other bolded words you're going to see are the vocab words that are in that Quizlet set. I hope you guys can sign into Quizlet if you just search that on Google or Safari, whatever browser you use. If you use Mac or iPhone or something, or if you're on Windows or Android, you could either just download the Quizlet app, just type it in on the computer, and then again sign in with your school account. You should be able to hopefully get to your classrooms that we have set up for you, and I'll post a link on Google Classroom probably when I'm done here, just in case you need to click and join the classroom if you haven't already. All right, so this idea of separation of powers. All right, so this is really the cornerstone, or the kind of big idea that the people who helped create the government were trying to implement. So separation of powers at the bottom of page 216 here. The United States government is divided into 3 separate parts, or branches. A lot of times you're just going to hear branches used, but branches and parts really mean the same thing. Okay, there is the legislative branch, which makes the laws. The judicial branch interprets the laws, and the executive branch enforces the laws. So having 3 separate branches of government with different functions is known as separation of powers. This system provides checks and balances in the government. These checks and balances help to make sure that not one branch of government becomes too powerful. And the creation of this type of government was not by accident. The founding fathers, again, fought a war against a very strong executive branch with the King of England, where the king had the authority. Very different than what life is like today, where kings and queens are just figureheads. They have no real power, but they're just more of a symbol of that country. They don't really do a whole lot in terms of governing or having any kind of authority. The United States, after the war, probably could have had a king. People loved George Washington. He was a war hero. He's a very famous and popular with his troops and with regular people. People could have anointed him king, but that's just not the type of person that Washington was. After the war, he just wanted to go back to his home and kind of live a quiet life, but that's not really what happened, obviously, with him eventually becoming the first president and setting the example for what the president can do and for how long a president should serve. Okay. So if we're back to the reading, page 216, we see the little academic vocab organizer there, I guess, the visual. So a word separate, apart, or not together. I think most of us know what separate means. So in the 19th century, boys and girls often sat on separate sides of the classroom, and the visual cue. Okay, so this is just another way for the vocab to kind of make sense of it, similar to that organizer thing that I had you guys try, and this was for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, where you got the big spot in the middle where you get to draw the picture of the definition. Then around the borders on each side, you had to give a definition, use it in a sentence, break it down into just like 3 keywords if you had to. And there was one more, an example of it, I think, was the last one. But yeah, so just another way to kind of help visualize the vocab. And if we move down to page 217, okay, and at the very top, you should see where it says concepts. And under that is each of those 3 branches broken down into, again, kind of a visual. So the building that each of those different branches kind of works at in Washington, D.C., and what their what their responsibilities and roles are. So if we look at the legislative branch real quick, that's made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. We'll go into more detail when we look specifically at the legislative branch. Their job is to make new laws and to change the laws. Okay? The judicial branch, think of the Supreme Court. So that's made up the court system, including the Supreme Court, the highest court in the country. And this branch interprets their laws. That is their job. Okay? They're supposed to provide a understanding of what the laws mean. Okay? And the executive branch. Okay, so this is made up of the president, vice president, and other officials. And their job is to enforce the laws, to make sure that the laws that the legislative branch makes are being followed. Okay, and it's more than just the president. It's the vice president and a lot of other officials that the president gets to pick. But again, we'll go into, just because they pick them doesn't mean that they're going to get approved and stuff like that. It all has to deal with checks and balances. So underneath that little table, it has a social studies skill. So it's reading the table, and it's having us look carefully at the heads of the column in the table, then tell why the information is found in the table, then look at the information in the table. And again, these questions, if you just want to answer them on the side, you can. You don't need full-on responses. Like this first one is, which branch includes the Supreme Court? Again, just look at the table there. It says it directly. And it's not trying to trick you or not trying to be difficult. Number 2 is asking which branch includes the president and vice president. Okay. Again, it's there on the table for you. And lastly, which branch can make or change law? And it's all in the table. Just refer back to the table. All right. Okay, sorry. And then check your understanding. Again, if you want to find spots on the book or on this page to answer it, you can, or these can just kind of things that you want to answer internally to yourself, that's fine. If you want to answer these on a separate piece of paper, you can. But yeah, this is just really kind of self-assessing, checking to make sure you know what you have read or what you have looked at in terms of the visuals and tables and stuff like that. Where it says research and inquiry, it says use the internet, library, or social studies book to answer the questions. Hopefully you guys know what a library is. I'm just teasing. Libraries are a cool place, especially for little kids. If you got like little brothers, sisters, or cousins, those are awesome places to take kids. I know we like to take our boys to libraries. There's a couple around us whenever we can, more when it is a little bit nicer outside, because a lot of them have cool little like play areas. Anyway, you can answer those 3 questions again on the paper if you'd like, just on the side there, or on a separate piece of paper if you would like. And then, what are some of the freedoms that are guaranteed by the Bill of Rights? Okay, you would need to look at what the Bill of Rights are. Okay, you can again look it up, just do a quick Google search, or if you can find it here in the textbook, you can. How many people make up the Senate and the House of Representatives? The Senate is pretty easy. It's 2 people, 2 senators from each state. Okay. And House of Representatives, each state gets a different number, but the total number is a pretty big number. Okay. Then who are the current president and vice president of the United States? You guys probably don't need to look this up to answer it. Maybe the vice president you do. Okay. And then underneath where it says writing, the United States Constitution was written more than 200 years ago. Why do you think the Constitution has sometimes been changed? And it has been changed quite a bit. 27 amendments, 27 changes have been made to it. Again, the first 10 are called the Bill of Rights. Those were made pretty quickly after the Constitution was agreed upon. So, and there's a lot of debate, to this day as to whether we should look at the Constitution as a document that should and can be changed, or kind of take it as is that it shouldn't be something that's tweaked, that's something that shouldn't be made to fit our day. This is what the founding fathers came up with. We should kind of listen to it in their words. So people have differing opinions over this, obviously. So if you want to go ahead and challenge yourself there, I would say definitely go for it. All right, so the next few pages, and I know if you look at the page numbers, it kind of goes out of order. It goes like to 209, 210, 211, 212, That's because these pages are coming from the workbook. They are not coming from the textbook that the reading pages are from, but they should be kind of close. But you know, these are the pages that we would like for you to work on and answer. Okay. And in the top right corner, it says student book pages 214 through 215, where you can kind of find the responses you need there. So it has section A, section B, section C, section D, E, F, and G. Okay. And then there's a little extension activity, which I would definitely recommend that you try to do. Get good little practice. And again, try to knock out some of this work, 20 minutes or half hour at a time. Take a 10-minute break, then get back to it. That's what I like to try to do whenever I'm working from home is, not try to get it all done in this, hour time span, or because adults, even we need breaks from time to time. Our attention spans, are pretty quick, just like your guys. So we understand. Just chunk stuff down. Work for 20 minutes, take a 5 or 10-minute break. Work for another 20 minutes, then take a break. I go grab something to eat, grab something to drink, and come back to it with a fresh mind. I think a lot of students have this notion or this idea that, okay, I need to get it all done now. I need to work nonstop. And maybe that's how some of us work. Maybe if that works for you, great. But maybe a vast majority of us, especially our students, need to take those little breaks, and that's fine. And adults, we need to do that as well. Teachers definitely do that as well. But if you want to look back here at the work, again, the workbook pages where it has section A, section B, section C, and so on and so on. That's where the work is coming from. Okay, that's what you're being asked to do. That's where your grade is going to come in for this. And if you're going to do the other things like the vocab or check understanding or those research and inquiry, the little writing stuff, once all this is collected, if we see that you are trying these other things, extra credit will be given because you're going above and beyond about what's being asked to do, really. So, go try to challenge yourself. And there are quite a few of us that do take advantage of extra credit opportunities when it is provided in class. So, and that doesn't go unnoticed, and we appreciate that you do that. But yeah, for this, just make sure you're reading the questions carefully, and that you're taking your time on it. They also do an example for you to kind of show you how it's done. Looks like for section A, you're just doing true and false. And if it's false, it's asking you to make the correct statement. Like the example here, the Magna Carta was a document signed in 1815 by the King of England, guaranteeing full power of the king over the people. So is this true or false? Again, you can go back into the text, and it's giving you the page numbers that you need, 214 through 215. So that statement is false. Then you could see that it's on 1215 guaranteeing some rights for the people. Okay. So number 1, then, a monarchy is a form of government in which citizens choose people to represent them and make the laws. This is a true or false statement. Okay, so going back, you would either write T or F. If it's T, just leave it as is. If it's false, put the F in that line, and then on the larger lines provided, that is where you would then write the statement to make it true. Okay. Okay. Number 2 is Jean-Jacques Rousseau was an Enlightenment thinker who believed that government should tell people how to live. Again, go back into the text, into the previous reading pages. Make that statement true or false. And number 3 is also working with another Enlightenment thinker. So John Locke was one of the founders of the United States government. True or false? Okay. And part B is vocab and context. Again, this is just working with some of the vocabulary. You got the word bank there, just below. Sorry if you hear stuff buzzing. It's phone. Teachers in our group chat and stuff. So try to avoid that so you guys aren't annoyed by the phone going off. But yeah, this one, just make sure you do the reading carefully and you match the correct vocab to fill in the blank there. So the United States government is based on the blank, and they have separation of powers. Go into detail. Each part of the government has a different function. The founders of the United States government were influenced by ideas from other countries in earlier times. For example, the ideas of a blank in which blank vote for representatives come from the Romans. Okay, so you got citizens, republic, John Locke, Magna Carta, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the United States Constitution. Okay, those are your options there. And it kind of gives you a little hint saying, this idea comes from the Romans. So if you look back into the reading, which idea came from the Romans? The idea of basic rights came from the blank, which was written in 1215. Enlightenment thinkers also provided ideas. For example, blank believe that people have the right to choose how they are governed, and blank believes in the right to life, liberty, and personal property. All these ideas form the foundation of blank. And just to go back to the reading, all that you need is in there. Okay. And whatever you need is in there. Okay. Well, I can hear some pitter patter of some kiddos. So we got about 13 minutes left. It's been a very silent chat compared to yesterday, which is fine. So if anybody is joining us super late, or if you catch us at another time, maybe you aren't able to catch live stream, but you can definitely watch the videos afterwards. There are some helpful links posted on Google Classroom. Posted them about a week ago on Friday, so it will say posted on March 13th. There's 2 links to some websites that are very helpful, I think. One of which the students, regardless whether you're in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, is from Ducksters, which is a site we use quite a bit. I tend to use that site a lot just because of how the information is presented for our students, and it's not overly complicated. It's very, it's very well structured. It's very well organized for our kids. Another one is a Constitution for Kids website. Okay, it says it's targeted between students 4th and 7th grade, so it's kind of in that nice middle spot for our students. And then I posted links to about 4 videos. So hopefully you guys are able to access those videos. 2 or 3 of them are from the History Channel, and they go into detail about each of the 3 branches of government. And probably you're going to hear some things that are repeated from the reading, from the work that you guys have. Try to keep those videos short. And then there's one more video about checks and balances, okay, or in separation of powers, how our government works, why those 3 branches exist, and what their role or what their function is. That is from Crash Course. That's a little bit more like higher level video, but a lot of the other videos geared towards checks and balances I don't think are as good, or they're very boring and very dry. What Crash Course does is at least present the information, I think, in a unique, funny, but sometimes kind of quick way. And I like the Crash Course videos. I think some of our students do. Some of our students probably would rather choose to do without it, just because of the style of humor. It's very dry and very sarcastic, which I appreciate. But again, I know that's not for everybody. But hopefully you're able to access those videos on Google Classroom, because I think they will be handy if, again, the reading's not making sense, if I'm unable to answer a question that you guys may have, just because, again, I'm busy with my crazy boys here at home, trying to keep them entertained and try to keep them from killing one another. So if you do have questions, definitely leave a comment on Google Classroom, on Google Hangouts, or email parents, guardians, if that's easier for you, if that's the way you communicate best. And I'll do my absolute best to try to reply as quickly as possible. Before I forget what I'm going to do, sorry, I'm just cleaning my computer, is try to post the links on Google Classroom to the Quizlet sets. Hopefully, you should be able to access Quizlet at home. Again, there is a Quizlet app. I use it. I have it on my phone. And just have your students sign in with their school Google account. So first name dot last name, and the number is either 24, 25, or 26. Then at sa-students.org. Kids hopefully should memorize or know what their login is. But yeah, let me go ahead and try to get these links posted to the correct classroom. Okay, sorry. Sorry, not the most exciting live stream here, me trying to do something on my computer, so I apologize. But I just want to make sure you guys get these links if you need to rejoin Google Classroom. Sorry, I hear one of the twins down there. I gotta try. Again, on Quizlet, there is a new vocab set for all grades, not just 8th grade, but it's a U.S. government, so it should be things like the 3 different branches of government, the idea of checks and balances, and other important vocab terms that are going to help, I think, make this assignment, this Blizzard bag stuff, a little bit easier. Okay, so I'm going to be doing this class by class. So I'm just about to post for Cosmics Quizlet class. That link should be working for you guys. I just have to do this for each class. Okay. So this may take some time. Okay. All right, so I got the 2 8th grade ones just posted. So if your student is in Cosmic or Fireball, okay, you got a few more minutes, about 5 minutes left of streaming here. So I'll try to finish up with our 7th grade groups and our 6th grade group. So I'm about to do Lunar here. And normally this is 8th grade vocab set, but I put it for every grade because all grades are doing the same work. Okay. Oh. All right. So, okay, if your student is in Lunar, that link just got posted. I got 2 more classes to do, so bear with me. I'm sorry this is maybe taking a little bit longer than I anticipated, and it's not the most exciting kind of live stream stuff. Just either hearing me click my mouse and copy and paste and stuff. Okay, and so Venus was just posted, and then we're gonna get ready to post Terra here. Again, this is being posted on Google Classroom for all the classes. So if you need to join the Quizlet class, that should be the top post. This is in case you need access or want the access to the vocab set. You can also download the Quizlet app. It's a pretty good app, I think, whether you're on iPhone or Android. They really work the same. So yeah, those links are posted for Quizlet on Google Classroom, should be the top post, and then right underneath that post is the link, or is the post I was talking about before with the links to the videos and to the websites and a little message from me. We got just a couple more minutes before we need to get going, but yeah, if the live chat isn't all that active, so what I'll tend to do is do like the next page in the reading, kind of to go over some questions if you guys have them. But yeah, I'll just kind of start doing the reading and clearing things up in case something is just not sticking. And this is not meant to be difficult. Just make sure you do the reading. All the answers are in there. If it's still not making sense to you, if it's confusing, and if you're in the live chat, if you're watching, or maybe watch this later, leave a message. Use the Google Hangouts app that we have, or that thread going on. Again, that's for students, family members, and staff, so we're all connected to it. And those websites should help, and the videos I think will help as well. So it looks like 2 out of the 3 kids are awake. So if you can't see this door over here, that's Kellen's room. I kind of peer a little bit into it. He's being cranky. Yeah. And our dog is up here now too. Yeah, I talked to you. We've seen a little glimpse into my craziness here. This is one part of my room. This little spot is kind of my area with my desk and the printer and stuff like that. So got some wall painting over there that we picked up. Raquel claims that she did it, even though I told her we bought it a couple years ago at Hobby Lobby. Yeah, looks like we got just a couple minutes, so I'm going to be wrapping up here very soon. I know Carmelo, I saw him kind of as this live stream started. I don't think he stayed very long, and that's fine. I get that students or family members may be busy, have other things or other obligations to do, so I understand. Tomorrow I'll be here at the same time, about 1 o'clock. I think Mr. Fosnight will be going live at like noon. I saw on our schedule to do like a social skills class. So if you want to check that out and see what's going on, but yeah, I always try to start them the same way, reminding folks, students, that there is stuff posted on Google Classroom just in case you cannot understand something. If something is just really bothering you on terms of the work, you can't just wrap your head around it. Check out those links. I think they will help. There's also links to some videos, which I think are pretty good, and I try to keep them short. Yeah, but definitely try to knock some of this work out little by little. You don't need to get it all done in one sitting, but maybe Alex is here. Okay. Some of us maybe want to try to get it all done at once, and that's fine. Most of us probably just want to start chipping away at it little by little. That's definitely what I would recommend. That way you keep, give yourself something to do over this 3-week break or 4-week break, however long it's going to be. And you don't go insane by day 6 because you did all your work and have nothing else to do other than just play video games or something. But yeah, can you guys remember a time in your life where you're actually being told to stay home and play video games and not go out? It's kind of crazy. I wish I was told that when I was your age. All right, so it's about 2 o'clock, so I'm going to start heading off here. So I'll be back, like I said, tomorrow, same time, right about 1 o'clock. I think Mr. Fosnight is going on a little bit before, around noon or so, to have a social skills class, a live stream about that. So that'd be pretty interesting. Be kind of cool. So check that out if you guys have the time. I get it's Friday. Maybe you want to try to do something a little bit more relaxing. Yeah, if the chat isn't all that active like it has been today, I'll just kind of start going over the different pages, do some of the reading, and go into a little bit more detail in case that helps some students. I don't have Dark Souls. Like maybe I do. I don't know. It's probably buried somewhere, and it's for 360. I don't have it on my Xbox One, Alex. So sorry. But with that being said, I'm gonna head out here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna go grab something to eat. I'll see you guys tomorrow at about the same time, 1 o'clock. Okay. So thank you for the handful of us that were here. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.